Welcome back to the channel here, and if you're looking at this, it's I posted this on January 30th, 2019, which is of course Bell's Let's Talk Day for mental health awareness and all that stuff. So I had a previous channel kind of discussing what I was going to do and stuff like that, but like due to time scheduling, I wasn't able to make a bunch of videos. But I was like happy that I at least made one discussing PTSD for frontline people like EMS, police, firefighters, all that stuff, and how PTSD and trauma affects them. So today I was going to talk about basically, I guess, my ordeal and kind of stuff I go through and what I take to kind of cope with it. So for myself, I was diagnosed with PTSD and at the time, I guess, extreme dissociation, they called it, in August 2017, which was work related. For myself, it was a death from work, like working, and kind of weird because I've been doing that kind of. I was in the field since 2006, so I did a lot of like patrolling stuff, kind of stuff like that, and then I worked in the jail 2012. So from then, like, there's been always like working in jail and that you get so focused into trauma and stuff like that during serious incidents like assaults on staff, inmates, suicide, self-harm, all the stuff you'd think would happen in a jail mostly happened for me. Being a central jail inside the city, you see a lot of stuff, but I never, like, I guess, focused on it. I just kind of, like, was wanting to push forward and keep doing it like most people do. That I've spoken with PTSD is just like or police and stuff like that, is that you just kind of push the incident over and you never deal with it and you just go forward. So when this incident happened in 2017, it was weird because, like, not only was it like a crazy mental breakdown, but it was like I'd get memory losses within the day, and I think that's when I noticed that something had to happen. Like, I had to tell somebody, so I told my supervisor at the time, took a day off, and they actually, like, just kept me off until I got diagnosed, which was weird because going through it, it's so hard because you're not mentally there. Like, you're very like here and there, memory loss, you're like trying to figure out like what's happening with you and stuff like that. And that was happening for me as I was unaware of what was happening with me. But I do know, like, people were very helpful getting like paperwork done and stuff like that, and workers' compensation, surprisingly enough, with people dealing with incidents, was pretty helpful. They were quick to get me checked out by a doctor, kind of like fast tracked in, and the doctor, I remember the doctor saying, I still see him, he mentioned that it would take 2 days or 2 sessions to really diagnose me, but the first day he says, yeah, I could tell, like, you do have PTSD and dissociation, which, whether it's right or wrong, I don't know, but basically he said that pushing down different trauma incidents and never dealing with it kind of made it like a Coke can or something, like a pop bottle where you just shake it and then open it and just everything came out, kind of thing. It's almost like a workplace thing that it's like, it was 2017 and mental illness wasn't a thing in jobs such as like corrections, and the firefighters were doing their peer-to-peer support and mental health recovery. The police, I think, were doing the same thing, but corrections, sheriffs weren't into that, but they were noticing a lot of people, booking sick, but they thought people booking sick because they don't want to work there, and there's a lot of officers going off, and like today, 2019, they're just starting to recognize in the workplace of mental health and how important is it with, being a correction officer, suicide rate is quite high, for what they do and stuff like that. So But anyway, so with me, It took me like 5 months. I couldn't remember what I was doing and stuff like that. I couldn't take care of myself, like showering, eating, all that stuff. Like, I think I'd sleep for 4 hours a day for 5 months, and it was emotional roller coaster going up and down. You'd be sad for no reason, crying next, angry, all these outbursts, and no one there really explains it, because you'd see the doctor maybe once a week, and your family doctor would just tell you to go see psych. And I don't blame them for it, because like even the doctor saying, the psychologist was saying like that wee bit of time really tells if you're going to be really bad or you're going to recover. And eventually I did bounce back a lot, but to the point where I can't go back to work due to my employer. And when I mean my employer, there's quite a bit of barriers set up, and I think it's just one of those things where, they tell you, the doctors are very, very involved in telling you like what you need for exposure therapy, but being in a security facility, some of those things can't happen. And the doctors did mention to the employer that like certain barriers would have to be broken down to continue this exposure therapy to get this one person in. But it's very hard to tell that to an employer, saying like, hey, like this needs to be done, this needs to be done, and they eventually would just continue to put up barriers. And with barriers would be very, very resistant to change and to your program, because you'd be on a program for desensitization, exposure therapy back into the workplace, to like basically where the drama happened, which is your workplace, which is the jail for me. And to have an employer who's saying the right things because they know they have to say the right things, and doing the right things or doing the wrong things. But communication was key. They lacked communication, stuff like that. So it made it very, very difficult to go back, because of course somebody who suffers with trauma and stuff like that, it's very hard to first deal with your triggers and what sets you off, and then how to get back into the location. For me, it was avoidance of our downtown area. That's where I worked. It was in the city, so a good chunk of it was like starting where you're safe, which was home, and then work your way into it. And eventually, January of 2018, I was able to have an accommodated position, basically right across from work. Which, it still kind of feels weird going there sometimes. Like, you have your ups and downs for sure, but right now it kind of sucks. It's not a good feeling sometimes, because you constantly look out to realize how broken you are. Which people might say sleeping pills, and I didn't want to deal with sleeping pills, but it was really affecting me. It still affects me today, where I cannot. Let's see, if I have a nightmare or a bad dream, it's very severe, to the point where it's like I'm grabbing at the air, thinking I'm fighting somebody, and it takes a hold of you, because like it takes, you feel physically and mentally drained, because it goes for hours, like you're in a fight. But to combat that, they try different medications and stuff like that, and one of it is medical cannabis, where I've never taken it before until probably last year. Started taking it, and I have it right here. So I take Spectrum Cannabis. You see that there? So it's just soft gels, pill form. I take it an hour before I go to bed. It's a high THC count, so it has that psychedelic experience that you get to help you, sleep, right? And people talked about CBD oil, which I just started taking here. Like, I'll show you. Yeah, so that comes in a syringe, and you take that, and that usually I have friends who have chronic back pain and stuff like that would be prescribed that and take that to help that. So that helps with that, but it also helps with like anxiety and depression and all your panic attacks and stuff like that. So I've been trying it for the last 2 weeks. I take it probably in the daytime to relax me, because I find myself very, very stressed at work at most times, and it's just the environment I'm in can make it, spit like snowball into something bigger, and it usually does. I usually get mad, angry, like I'm gonna hit something, you know, of course, the outbursts, the dissociation, the memory gaps, and stuff like that happen. It snowballs. It snowballs. It has happened. Still happens. So I try to take the yellow stuff, the CBD oil, to help with that anxiety, to kind of meditate and relax and stuff like that. It doesn't have no psychedelic to it. It doesn't make me high or anything like that. But the red ones, which are here, I'll use for sleeping. Other than sleeping pills, it's not addictive. I try to do it when I have to work, which is Monday to Friday right now, and I'll take it the night before I go to bed, and it'll get me into the mood to sleep. Right? It's a indica strain, which they told me is good. But so when they told me it's good, I have no expert in it, and my doctor actually sent me 2 experts. We do have an expert facility in here with medical cannabis, and it's actually with veterans, and it's all Army veterans. So when I went in there, I was considered a first responder for it. They were really helpful. They weren't really you know, like, oh, you weren't one of us, you're not a military person. They were really, really helpful. They understand trauma for what I did, like a workplace trauma where, like, you know, of course somebody died in my arms. They understand, you know, being combat veterans. So they're very thorough on what kind of stuff would help me. But it's all trial and error because I've never done it before. You have to start the lowest you can and then work yourself up. So that's what I did. And I think I'm at 10 milligrams of THC, and I think there's very, very little CBD in it, so I get that psychedelic where I feel like I'm drunk. Of course, like, it's merely just for sleeping. I don't take it during the day. It's very rare if I do. It's usually if I'm really, really stressed and I know I'm like at a 5 out of 5, I'm ready to like lose it, I'm not feeling myself, and I just need to calm down. That's a quick reacting thing. I mean, yeah, it takes 45 minutes to an hour, but in that time I'm able to use my grounding techniques to kind of just pass that time until it hits, and then I'm like, you know, smooth sailing. I'm relaxed, I'm calming myself down. I don't get that anger, bad feelings. You don't get those bad feelings. You get only happy. Yeah, you can have thoughts and think about stuff, but like it won't have the same effect inside. CBD doesn't do that. It just kind of relaxes you in the mindset. So that's why I like to take it in the morning. Get it in me, get to work where I kind of like, I can be a little bit chill in a stressed day. I try to take it more often than before, so I can really see how it affects. On the weekend, I don't take it. It's very rare I'll take it because like I can stay up till 2. Because like I'll go to bed at 10. And I actually won't pass out till midnight, and that's just, you know, how it is, just the thoughts, right? Like, I think somebody mentioned the other day too, it's like, it's weird that when you don't want to sleep, you'll sleep, but when you have to sleep or want to sleep, you can't. And that's kind of like how I am with this, and, you know, you think too much and stuff like that. Your mind's like a killer, so I've taken a better grasp of it, and I want to do something about it. I want to learn, I want to help others, and it's just the difficulties of changing your life because of you know, being diagnosed with something's hard. You know, especially your workplace where like now you can't go back to work. What do you do? And that's my journey right now, right? Like till this day, it's what I'm dealing with. So I'm gonna end it there. I don't think there's much to say other than, you know, like, be grateful, always listen to somebody, even if they're stressed out and they always look like they're stressed out. There's probably a reason for it. You don't understand what they're going through, and you can't just have that suck it up mentality and leave it. There's people that could be faking it, manipulation, but there's actually real people who can't, you know, it's hard to explain, and that's the biggest thing, is like, at least, you know, talk to somebody, right? So I'm gonna end it like there, and hopefully this is helpful. I mean, it's a journey. Something I wanted to make was this video, and hopefully it, you know, something comes out of it. So I'm gonna end there. So thank you, and see you later.